You have been eating right, working out, doing everything they told you to do, and yet the belly fat is still there. What if the real problem has nothing to do with your food or your exercise, but something happening deep inside your body every single night without you even realizing it? Most people who are trying to lose belly fat are doing everything right on the surface. They are cutting calories. They're going to the gym. They're drinking more water. They're trying their best. And still, week after week, they step on the scale and nothing changes. The belly stays exactly where it was. Maybe it even gets a little worse. And the most frustrating part is not the fat itself. It is not knowing why. Because when you're doing everything you were told to do and it is still not working, something deeper is going on inside your body. Something that almost nobody in the fitness world is talking about. And that one thing is destroying your fat loss completely, silently, and without your permission. Let us start at the very beginning. When your body wants to burn fat, it needs to feel safe. That sounds strange at first, but it is the truth. Your body is not a machine that simply responds to calories in and calories out. It is a living system that makes decisions based on survival. And one of those decisions is whether or not to hold on to stored fat. When your body feels threatened, it makes a very clear choice. It holds on to every single calorie it can. It stores fat instead of burning it. It protects itself. And the signal that triggers this survival response is something called cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone. It is produced by two small glands that sit on top of your kidneys, called the adrenal glands. When something stresses your body, whether that is a physical danger, an emotional problem, a lack of sleep, or even too much exercise, your adrenal glands release cortisol into your bloodstream. And cortisol has one primary job. It keeps you alive in a dangerous situation. It raises your blood sugar. It sharpens your focus. It prepares your muscles to fight or run. This is what scientists call the fight or flight response. And for thousands of years, this system kept human beings alive. But here's the problem. Your body cannot tell the difference between being chased by a wild animal and sitting in traffic for 2 hours. It cannot tell the difference between running from a real physical threat and staring at your phone at midnight worrying about money. To your body, stress is stress. And when stress becomes constant, when it never fully goes away, cortisol stays elevated in your blood for hours, sometimes days at a time. And when cortisol is chronically high, your fat loss does not just slow down. It stops entirely because cortisol directly tells your fat cells to hold on and not release stored energy. There's more. Cortisol specifically targets one area of the body above all others, the belly. Researchers have found that belly fat has a higher concentration of cortisol receptors compared to fat stored anywhere else in the body. That means when cortisol rises, the belly is the first place your body rushes to store fat, and the last place it agrees to burn it. This is why people who are constantly stressed, even people who eat very well and exercise regularly, struggle with persistent belly fat. The cortisol is working against them every single day. Now let us talk about where most of this cortisol is coming from in your body. Because most people assume the cause is simply too much stress at work or personal problems. And yes, those things raise cortisol. But the single biggest driver of chronically elevated cortisol is something most people completely overlook. It is sleep deprivation. Not total sleep loss, not staying up for 3 days straight. Just consistently sleeping less than 7 hours per night. Studies conducted at the University of Chicago showed that people who slept only 5.5 hours per night for 2 weeks had significantly higher cortisol levels the following day compared to those who slept a full 8 hours. More importantly, the sleep-deprived group showed a dramatic reduction in the rate at which their bodies burned fat, even when their calorie intake was exactly the same. Think about what that means. You could eat the same food. You could do the same workout. But if one person sleeps 8 hours and another sleeps 5.5 hours, their bodies are processing fat in a completely different way. The person who is sleeping less is storing more fat, burning less fat, and feeling hungrier the next day because cortisol also triggers the release of another hormone called ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. When cortisol goes up, ghrelin goes up. When ghrelin goes up, your brain starts screaming for high-calorie foods, specifically sugar, bread, and processed carbohydrates. Not because you have no willpower, but because your hormones are chemically driving you toward those foods. This is the cycle that is destroying millions of people who are genuinely trying to lose fat. They sleep poorly, cortisol rises, ghrelin rises, they eat more sugar and processed food, their insulin spikes, their body stores more belly fat, they feel bad about themselves, they stress more, cortisol rises again, and the whole cycle repeats itself. Night after night, week after week, month after month. And the worst part is that most people respond to this plateau by doing more. More cardio, fewer calories, more restriction, more punishment. But adding more stress to a body that is already drowning in cortisol is the exact opposite of what needs to happen. Every extra hour of intense cardio when your body is already cortisol dominant sends another cortisol spike into your system. Every severe calorie cut triggers your survival mechanisms even harder, convincing your body that food is scarce and fat must be held at all costs. So what is the solution? The first and most important step is not changing your diet. It is not adding a new workout. It is addressing the cortisol directly. And the most powerful way to do that is protecting your sleep with the same seriousness that you protect your workouts. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is not optional if you want to burn fat. It is the foundation. Without it, everything else you're doing is fighting against a wall. Beyond sleep, research consistently shows that low-intensity movement, such as walking, especially in the morning or after meals, reduces cortisol levels more effectively than intense exercise. The reason is simple. Walking activates your muscles and burns calories without triggering a significant stress response in the body. It keeps cortisol calm. It supports fat burning without putting your body on high alert. A 30-minute walk after dinner has been shown in multiple clinical studies to lower blood cortisol levels, reduce blood sugar, and improve overnight fat oxidation, which means your body burns more fat while you sleep. Nutrition also plays a role in cortisol regulation, but not in the way most people think. The foods that spike cortisol the most are not just junk food. They are also foods eaten at the wrong time. Eating large meals very late at night, especially meals high in simple carbohydrates, causes a significant insulin and cortisol response that disrupts your overnight hormonal balance. Your body should be in a state of recovery and fat burning while you sleep. But a heavy late-night meal tells it to focus on digestion and blood sugar management instead. Magnesium is one of the most underrated nutrients when it comes to cortisol control. It is found in foods like dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, and dark chocolate. Magnesium helps regulate the nervous system, and research shows that low magnesium levels are directly associated with higher cortisol and poorer sleep quality. Most people in the modern world are chronically deficient in magnesium without knowing it. Protein is equally important. High-protein meals help stabilize blood sugar, which reduces the cortisol spikes that come from energy crashes throughout the day. When your blood sugar drops suddenly, your adrenal glands release cortisol to raise it back up. Eating enough protein at every meal keeps your blood sugar stable, your energy steady, and your cortisol low. The last piece of this puzzle is something even fewer people talk about: overtraining. When you exercise too hard, too frequently, without enough recovery time, your cortisol never fully drops. Your body stays in a constant low-grade state of stress. And in that state, fat loss becomes nearly impossible. 2 to 3 days of serious strength training per week, combined with daily walking and adequate sleep, will produce far better fat loss results than training intensely 6 or 7 days per week on 5 hours of sleep. The body needs recovery. Fat is burned during recovery, not during the workout itself. There is one more thing that almost everyone ignores, and it might be the most important hormonal factor after cortisol. It is a relationship between light exposure and your internal body clock, which scientists call the circadian rhythm. Your body has a deeply programmed biological schedule. It expects light in the morning and darkness at night. When you expose yourself to bright screens, phones, televisions, and laptops late at night, your brain receives a signal that it is still daytime. It delays the release of melatonin, which is a hormone that prepares your body for deep sleep and overnight fat burning. Without melatonin rising properly, your cortisol does not fall the way it should. Your body never fully enters the deep recovery phases of sleep, where the most powerful fat-burning hormones, including growth hormone, are released. Growth hormone is one of the most powerful fat-burning compounds your body produces naturally. It is released in large pulses during deep sleep, particularly in the first few hours after you fall asleep. Growth hormone directly signals your fat cells to release stored energy and instructs your body to use fat as its primary fuel source while you rest. But when your sleep is shallow, fragmented, or cut short, these growth hormone pulses are reduced or eliminated entirely. Your body essentially misses its nightly fat-burning window, and you wake up the next morning wondering why nothing is working, not realizing that the answer was in the quality of those lost hours of sleep. Understanding all of this changes everything about how you approach fat loss. It is no longer just about what you eat or how hard you train. It is about how well you recover. It is about managing the invisible hormonal environment inside your body that either allows fat to be burned or commands it to be stored. The people who master this are the ones who seem to lose fat effortlessly while doing less than everyone else around them. They are not smarter. They are not more disciplined. They simply understand what is actually happening inside their bodies, and they work with their biology instead of against it. Everything you have heard about fat loss in your life has pointed you toward doing more, eating less, running more, suffering more. But your body does not respond to punishment. It responds to safety. When your cortisol is low, your sleep is deep, your stress is managed, and your body finally feels safe enough to let go of the fat it has been holding onto for months or even years. The real secret was never about the gym. It was always about what was happening inside your body when you were not even thinking about it. If this changed the way you think about fat loss, hit subscribe right now, because this is just the beginning. Every single week, we break down the real science behind what is happening inside your body, the things nobody else is telling you, and exactly what to do about it. Drop a comment below and tell us, did you know cortisol was doing this to your body? We read every single comment. And if you know someone who is struggling to lose belly fat, no matter what they try, share this video with them. It might be the most important thing they watch all year.